that's an oxymoron because you really can't have growth if you're not really focused on the customer. And so I just thought that there was, some disparity there, which prompted this conversation today to really be focusing on the importance of making your customer a priority in your business and how it will actually come back to you tenfold because your business is based on your customer ultimately. And if you build a strong business around your customer, it will keep paying off for you. And so that's what really prompted this conversation today.
Yeah, and I was reminded, Jennifer, with that stat, there's a significant difference between those numbers, between the top priority, which is growth, as you indicated,
Mhm.
and the customer. And you did say customer was like way down on the list. I mean, but to put numbers with that, 51% of CEOs listed growth as their top priority, and only 15% listed
Mhm.
the customer. I mean, I think that's noteworthy because that's not a small difference. It's
Right.
like, wow.
Yeah, and of course, we have to talk about, a few things here as it relates to growth, right? If you really want to focus on growth, how can you leverage your current customer base to help you
Hmm.
with growth, right?
Hmm.
Because the truth is, the stats continue to point in the favor of the customer, right? And so here's
Yeah.
just a few more that we gathered just for this, conversation, right? Nearly 90% of shoppers will stay loyal to brands that share their values.
Hmm.
Also, more importantly, 74% will switch to another brand if purchasing is too difficult. Over 50% will never do business again if they have a negative experience. Yet, if they have an amazing experience, 93% will do business again, will repeat
Hmm.
doing business with you, and nearly 80% will share this, experience with their friends, right? And we
Big
all know the
numbers,
power of
very
words,
big numbers.
right? So I just find it odd that, constantly as business owners, we're looking outside of how can we get more brand awareness? How can we generate more profit, more business? Yet we're
Hmm.
not really focused on, well, what do we have right now that we
Hmm.
can leverage? Now, this doesn't say we don't, of course, want to focus on building more and getting more, but are we truly optimizing what we have now?
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's a matter of really being strategic. And for me, and I think you you will agree, strategy seems to be missing there because they go hand in hand. Customer growth. I mean, there are other stats and information to support that. I mean, we know that it is harder to get a new customer. It tends to be more costly. I mean, across the
It's like
board, it's
5
more
times
difficult.
harder, like, it costs
Yeah,
5 times more to acquire a new one.
to
Don't
acquire a
quote
new
me on that, I don't know what the
customer.
latest is today, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, versus growing the customer base you have or expanding the that existing relationship. And I mean, we've talked about this before. I think that is a big problem in a number of companies. I mean, large and small. You see it all the time where the company or the brand, the leadership is not really focused, or they're not focused enough. Sometimes they're not focused at all on the customer. And
Yeah.
it's very unfortunate because it's one of those things. It seems apparent, or like it would be apparent, but apparently it's not
Apparently it's
apparent.
not. Well, I think it just goes back to remember, as business owners, we're human, right? And as a society, we're constantly focused on how can we get more. It's this
Hmm.
never-ending quest of
Hmm.
more. So it's almost ingrained in us that it's like we just have to look outside of ourselves or, what we don't have in order to fill this void or gap. And not to get too philosophical there, but that's the point, right? It's really shifting our mindset to understanding that if we want more, maybe it's already within us. Maybe
Mm,
it's something we already have. And how
yeah.
can we tap into what we already have and leverage what we have? And we already know that, especially today, talent is jumping ship. Also, companies are treating talent as expendable, right? Like that,
Yeah.
that they don't matter. And so also then this is creating distrust within the workforce, right? And in order to really grow, you need top talent, right? And then, but
Yeah.
you have to invest in top talent. And we see this all the time as brand strategists. I'm sure you see this too. A lot of business owners overlook the importance of building a brand strategy, a brand foundation, understanding their brand identity. They're rushed to build the visual identity, but they have no idea
Oh,
how much
yeah.
it correlates to the soul of their brand. And if they did this more, more deep dive work in the first place, it would save them money, time, and a whole lot of heartache in the future.
Mm, I didn't know you were going to come in and preach.
I tend to preach, and I'm not trying to, but it's
Minister
frustrating. It's like
Jennifer.
I find just a lot of business owners want to cut corners in the beginning of their
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
to save a buck. And listen, I'm all about cost savings, but it's this is something that you really want to invest in first, because it
Hmm.
actually is going to save you money in the long run. It's sort of like, listen, if you invest in your health now versus waiting till you're sick,
Hmm.
like it's going to save you a lot of time, money, and heartache.
Yeah. Typically, and we know
Typically, yeah.
that's a big problem too. So that's another conversation.
Another
Um,
conversation, yeah.